one of the biggest traits I see for success is just really a lot of tenacity and a lot of trying different things and pivoting and experimenting and really seeing what works.
B2B Content Strategist is the podcast where you'll hear actionable advice and strategic guidance from content marketing leaders. I'm Amy Woods, CEO of Content 10X, and I sit down with leading B2B marketers to discuss how they overcome challenges with limited time and resources and execute winning campaigns time after time. If you want to improve and streamline your content marketing, keep listening. Hello and welcome back to another episode of B2B Content Strategist. I'm your host Amy Woods, and in this episode I'm joined by Anna Hrach, Senior Digital Marketing Strategist at Convince and Convert and host of the incredibly popular and long-running podcast Social Pros. Now, we're huge fans of the Social Pros podcast at Content 10X. You could say we're a little bit biased because we've been producing and repurposing it for the last few years, but I don't think it's bias. It genuinely is a fantastic show. Now, I've been on the Social Pros podcast, so it was really nice to turn the mic and interview Anna. I could not be happier to share this discussion with you today. Now, in this conversation, Anna and I go deep into what content marketing approaches are working for B2B organizations right now. As a strategist working with multiple B2B brands, Anna has a breadth of insight into what content marketing playbooks are getting traction and where they fall short as well. We also discuss the marketing funnel opportunities that are often overlooked in B2B marketing and why podcasting is such a big play for businesses right now. There's lots to take away from this episode, so I really hope you enjoy it. Let's dive in. Anna, welcome to B2B Content Strategist.
Thank you for having me here, Amy. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
I know, I've been looking forward to this, so it's going to be a fantastic conversation. So to kick things off, obviously we know each other well, but please could you tell our wonderful listeners about your role and a few sentences about what Convince and Convert does as well?
Yeah, I would love to. So I am with Convince and Convert. We are a digital marketing consultancy. We are based out of the US, but we work across the US. We work around the world. And we help some of the world's biggest brands with their digital marketing strategy, everything from social media to content marketing, podcasting, as we're doing today. And I've been with the team for about almost 6 years now, which is crazy. But yeah, I love it. It's so much fun.
And you've worked in the content marketing space for basically almost your whole career, haven't you, really?
Yeah, I started off as a traditional copywriter for branding and like writing billboards and radio ads. And, as my agencies started to pick up on web work, I kind of got a little tired of being handed designs that had lorem ipsum. And I was like, there has to be a better way to do content. So got into content strategy, but then also at the same time, social media was really coming up and people were like, hey, these blog things could maybe be a business opportunity. So just started taking on all of the digital content as well, until I fully just went into digital content full time.
Awesome. So what does a marketing team look like at an agency like Convince and Convert? So how do you structure your marketing? What kind of roles do you have?
It's Convince and Convert is really, really unique. So we like to say that there's no B team at Convince and Convert. We are really kind of this very specialized team of experts. We are all incredibly senior. So we're really, really unique. And of course, we're headed by Jay Baer, New York Times bestselling author. He has, of course, established Social Pros podcast, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. Renowned speaker, Hall of Fame, you name it, he's done it in the marketing world. But we're really unique at Convince and Convert because, as I mentioned, we have really senior people. So I've been in the industry for about 15 years, and that's pretty much average for our team. And we only do digital marketing strategy for the most part. There's very few. We do some, like webinars and ebooks and things like that, but it's very specialized types of content creation. And so we really have our team of strategists. And we're a very flat organization, actually, which is very, very unique for marketing organizations. And so, we kind of pair up, and we're all strategists. We're all very, very much generalists as well. Some of us lean more into some specialties than others, but it really is a fantastic way to just get the best of the best of the best from very experienced digital marketers.
And in terms of, the different brands that you work with, you've got a lot of exposure to lots of different types of companies. What do you see being very, I guess, effective in the B2B marketing space at the moment in terms of the strategies that are really working and doing well for your clients?
It's funny, the more that I work in this industry, the more things still kind of stay the same sometimes. So we are still seeing a ton of content marketing and a ton of just utility-based content, which is, of course, JBear, utility, classic, helping, not selling. And I'm still seeing a lot of content efforts. Actually, I've seen, especially over the course of the pandemic and people working from home, people shifting much more into content marketing as well, and really kind of taking a look and doubling down on their efforts, but also analyzing what's really working. But I am still seeing a lot of content marketing, and of course, social media marketing over the course of that time too has just amplified. It really feels like over the last 2 years, everything has just amplified because it has been our only means of communicating with customers.
And did you find that there were certain barriers that some organizations had that suddenly realized, right, there's a big content play here, because all the traditional means of maybe interacting with our customers have changed now? And the ones that maybe hadn't been embracing content before, were there any main barriers that you were trying to help them break down in order to start embracing content and following different strategies?
Absolutely. So I think because everything really shut down so hard in 2020, we had a lot of clients who were very much dependent upon getting the word out at conferences or in-person events. And so they really needed to quickly pivot and supplement. So we saw a lot of webinars in the beginning, people doing webinars. Our favorite, we love the term Webinine, which is short form webinars that are just 9 minutes. So we saw a lot of people really mixing up the content modalities quite a bit in the beginning. So going from primarily print to really starting to look at how else they can engage. And especially in the beginning, there were so many webinars too. It was about how to actually optimize those webinars and get people's attention. And, everybody had such Zoom fatigue in 2020 and 2021. It was really about how to message it and pair not just a different modality, but with what's really going to help people as well.
I think now more than anything, people probably have felt that fatigue and are now looking at, right, people have screen fatigue, people have Zoom fatigue. So have you seen some, I guess, kind of bigger changes happening this year as we're coming out from, we're trying to adjust from that Zoom fatigue?
Absolutely. A lot of, especially podcasting is coming back really big with our clients. We've started to work on several different podcast strategies, or we have several podcasts for our clients that are spinning up right now. And especially with the recent numbers, with the Infinite Dial just came out recently about podcast numbers, and there was a bit of a bump in 2021, it appears, from people working from home, but they don't see any sign of that slowing down, which is fantastic. And we're starting to see a lot more investment in video and just more interest as well, but more on-demand video versus webinars. So a lot of it feels like efforts are being bigger, but more long-term and more sustainable in terms of reaching different audiences and really delivering content in ways that might be a heavier lift for brands, but is so much more valuable and really what audiences want too.
What kind of mistakes do you see some of the brands make with their content marketing?
I think a lot of B2B brands still approach content, unfortunately, in that typical, here's what we need to communicate. So here's how we're going to create content, versus kind of taking a step back and understanding, well, what is our audience really looking for? And sometimes that's really hard to find for B2B companies, especially when you're incredibly niche, or maybe your audience isn't super active on social media. So social listening is a little bit harder. So still seeing a lot of very here's what we need to market, here's the content we're going to create that markets that, instead of kind of taking a step back and looking at it the other way from what does our audience need to hear.
Yeah, I completely agree. And in terms of the teams that make all of this happen, so the content marketing teams that exist within these organizations, what kind of traits do you see in a successful content marketing team?
I think, that's a really good question, because content marketing teams are kind of all over the place right now. We still work with a lot of teams that are like a team of one or two. Sometimes we work with massive teams that are completely siloed, where paid is separate from organic social, that's separate from content creation. And, so it really is all over the board right now. But I think one of the biggest traits I see for success is just really a lot of tenacity and a lot of trying different things and pivoting and experimenting and really seeing what works, and not being so locked into, well, this is our marketing plan and this is how we have to do it. And we're going to spend a year to create this huge, giant marketing strategy. And then, just continue to stay the course without pivoting. I think, especially now, just being flexible, pivoting, and having a lot of that tenacity, it's really essential, because things are just shifting still so quickly.
It's a challenge, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
content marketing is, typically a long game, and you have to be patient, and you have to, know that that's the game that you play in. So anyone launching a podcast, you need to be manage expectations. It's not going to become like the, like the Joe Rogan show straight away or anything like that. And nor do you necessarily, want that. That's probably not the reason for it, but it's a long play, as is, SEO blogging. So content marketing requires patience, but then what you just said as well, it also requires you to be nimble, you to be sort of able to adjust quickly. The landscape that we work in the content marketing world, and the platforms that we work with, and the media, that changes really quickly. So as you said, you can't be like wedded too much to certain strategies. And it's quite a balancing act, isn't it, of having the patience and not calling things too quickly, but then at the same time knowing that you can't get stuck on certain ideas. And I guess that's probably, a key thing that you must be trying to help people understand the triggers and decision points, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And amazing point, Amy. Yeah, it's also dependent upon the channel, right? Like, is exactly like you mentioned, like SEO takes time to build. Podcasting, it takes time to build an audience. It's not necessarily, I think we live in such like an instant gratification world now, where we want everything to be like social media, where, as soon as we post something, we get tons of likes or comments, or, even paid, where we just want to show up in people's feeds immediately. But yeah, it really depends on the channel. It depends on what you're trying to do. And I think the other mistake that I see other people make too, as we're on this topic and in channels and in different effects that we're looking for, is so many B2B marketers are still looking at the bottom of the funnel. Like, if I put in $1 into podcasting, I should get $1 back, right? Like, that's kind of the mentality still. Or if I put $1 into this, I should be getting an equal dollar back. And, when in reality, it takes maybe some time to build up, and then you'll see the returns on things. But still looking too much at the bottom of the funnel and not really taking consideration, especially the middle of the funnel, I think is where I see a lot of gaps and opportunities. People seem to be really, really into awareness, or very much into the bottom of the funnel. But definitely that middle of the funnel, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, like the conversion content at the bottom of the funnel, or the
Yeah.
big awareness, but like, how do you move them through from the awareness and through to the bottom of the funnel? And if you do a content audit, there's often way too much in one end or the
Yes.
other. The middle gets neglected.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially to highly encourage everybody to go check out, if you haven't already, Think with Google talks about like the messy middle. And that's really where all these decisions are being made. And it's a totally different set of questions that people have there. And, it's like we understand where people start and we understand where people end, but that messy middle, there's so much that happens there that we're not really paying attention to.
Yeah, it gets neglected. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the different content formats that you mentioned, obviously you're working with a lot of video format and podcast as well. So
Yeah.
when you are like helping to implement and recommend podcasts, are you typically recommending video first, video led podcasts?
We are definitely recommending that they capture video within their podcasting. A lot of clients aren't necessarily fully ready to embrace full video podcasts, which is totally okay. I mean, but it's so important to capture that video and have it for social snippets. But that is the direction we would love for people to go, just because there's so much opportunity for reuse, right? Like not just syndicating through podcast networks and channels, but also posting it on YouTube and having it on your website. I mean, there's so much extra content and so much opportunity that comes out of podcasting. It's unbelievable. And I think just thinking about podcasting in audio only format is really a disservice to how much you're investing and how much you could be reusing that content.
Just a super quick break from this conversation to let you know that if you're a B2B technology or professional services company and you want help with streamlining your content operations, outsourcing your content repurposing is the number one way to produce more high quality content and boost your ROI without putting any more pressure on your team. In fact, it could save your team up to 30 hours per week. We offer content repurposing services for video and audio content. Whether you have a show or you're launching a brand new one, maybe you have an archive of awesome content, be it webinars or a virtual event, or you want help creating thought leadership content that we can repurpose, we've got you covered. Head to content10x.com to see how we can help you and start increasing your efficiency and the value you get from your content. Now back to the conversation. It's just, I imagine, sometimes a challenge to convince, certain people within organizations to, to create that kind of content where it's putting themselves out there and who's going to be the host of the podcast and things like that. And then suggesting, let's flip the camera lens on and get you on camera.
Yes.
It's not what a lot of people, I guess, kind of think that they've signed up for in their jobs, probably, is it?
Yeah, no, and it is, you're totally spot on, Amy. And I think there is such a difference even from people. I don't know what it is about when cameras switch on, but some people get really weird about it and they're just so uncomfortable. And then some people love it and embrace it. So yeah, there is something weird about, I think, like the camera being on. Some people, it's like the difference between, I think probably radio personalities and also like on camera personalities, right? Like, I don't know, maybe there's like a certain anonymity to just not having video on, but yeah, there's a whole other set of engagement and personality aspects to video podcasting.
Yeah. I feel like we all have a friend or we know someone who's the absolute life and soul of a party, and like they'll be there like capturing attention from everyone, and then you get a camera and say, hey, say something here, and they suddenly go, I'm at a party. And then take the camera off and be like dancing again. It's just sometimes the fear, isn't it, as well, like the fear, the gear, all of that can be worrying. But I completely agree with you. We're aligned on so much, but just turn the camera on anyway, because you don't need to use all of that content, but capture all the content that you can, and then you can pull out the quality, can't you? So talking about that, so talking about podcasts, so Social Pros podcast. So I guess looking at you guys, looking at Convince and Convert, a key content marketing strategy for you is obviously podcasting, and congrats on taking over as the anchor for the Social Pros podcast. So it's awesome. So obviously that's a key marketing play for you guys, but how does that fit in and how does that work for you?
It's so funny. We've actually kind of talked about this recently, but Social Pros was originally started by Jay over 10 years ago. I mean, we have 520 episodes now, I think. Like it's somewhere up there, and which is insane. Like I think the last count we have more episodes than Law and Order, which is just insane because that show's been on forever as well. Yeah, it's nuts. Like we pulled all these stats for it for the 500th episode, and it was just crazy to see how far it's come and just how long it's lasted. But for 10 years, originally Jay just started it because nobody was really talking to social media professionals, and he just wanted to give everybody a space. So it really started as just like kind of this altruistic project from Jay and a couple of other people that were involved, a couple of other co-hosts. And it's just kind of evolved over the years. And so we really do just still see it as like a pure utility play where it's just there to bring information and help people get better and talk to these experts. And so it's not even necessarily, and I feel weird saying this, but it's not even necessarily like a core part of our like funnel process. We really just put it out there so that we talk to these amazing social pros guests. And the whole goal is to give knowledge to other social pros listeners. And it really is almost like even above awareness in our funnel. Like it's like it's pure altruism.
Yeah. And I love how niche it is. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
just our social media podcast, it's very specifically aimed at people, within certain roles, within certain sized organizations that
Mhm.
work in social media, which is, something that I think is really important in this time with so many podcasts to stick to that niche as well. So
Yeah. And we really try to get in terms of the niche, we do lean a little bit more B2B in terms of
yeah.
our conversations. But also we make sure we talk to people who are actually doing the work or have a history of doing the work. So we don't necessarily bring in, CMOs necessarily unless they're like really in it with
Mm.
their team. So
Yeah, it's kind of it's talking about in the trench work, isn't it? Actually doing
yes.
the work and what's working, which is really good.
Yeah.
So in terms of it's not kind of, as you said, it's kind of almost above the top of the funnel. What are the key marketing strategies that you rely on at Convince and Convert to find your clients?
We do a lot of referrals. We really, really love referrals. And, we are genuinely all about the relationships with our clients. We have so many long-term clients. It's insane. Like, especially prior to Convince and Convert 6 years ago, I'd spent my life at ad agencies. And, a lot of agencies, it's just part of the business, no matter how hard you try, like they cycle through and, they go out to RFP and get different partners. And we have some clients that we've been working with since Convince and Convert was founded. And it's just insane. Right now I'm working with a client that I've been working with for the last 2 years dedicated. And, it's really all about the relationships and the partnerships to us. We've worked with clients who go from, when they change roles at organizations, they come and refer us. So we really love referrals. We love having that network of people that we, just do good work with. But other than that, we also do a lot of webinars. Of course, Jay being out there on the circuit and being so, so visible and being such a high profile person, we get a lot of inquiries that way. But we really do actually have a great referral network. And that's probably the vast majority of a lot of the work that we do.
Yeah, and it's just so powerful, isn't it? There's nothing
Yeah.
really beats a referral. It's just completely trust based,
Yeah.
and you can't beat it. And I think you sometimes hear in the agency world, people say, well, you can't build an agency or a business where the core lead generation is referrals, but actually you can, like it's
Yeah.
possible. There's too many agencies that could say, well, that's been the main pipeline of our business for the whole time
Yeah.
and we're going strong. And so yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also too, if you take a look at convinceandconvert.com and any of our team members, there's so many of us that are also speakers. So obviously I'm on Social Pros, I'm a speaker. Zanti, our head of consulting, is a speaker. I mean, so many people are so visible and we really do make it all about our people. So even like, the CNC team members refer people in and, we make it all about the people, not necessarily like the consultancy.
Yeah, that's what people buy, isn't it? That,
Yeah.
people are buying expertise. So it's all about the
Yeah.
experts. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so here's some quick fire questions for you.
Ooh,
What's
okay.
no pressure.
No
So
pressure at all.
no, not at all. So what's one takeaway tip that you would give to other content marketers looking to just optimize content output?
Ooh, uh, take a pause on new content and look at what you have right now because there is so much opportunity to reuse and repurpose content. I'm a massive fan. Of course, at Convince and Convert, we talk about content atomization all the time. It's a core part of what Jay talks about all the time, but it really is, you have so much content you don't even necessarily realize in the archives that's still good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pause on the content machine and look at what's actually there. Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense. What would you say is a typically overlooked or maybe undervalued tool that you would recommend content marketers like yourself should take a look at, check out?
Ooh, social listening and audience insights tools. Absolutely. Just a variety of them and different sources. We're massive fans of SparkToro. And of course we use Meltwater. But yeah, listen, uncover insights, tools. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. We like Spark Toro as well. I had Rand Fishkin on the Content 10X podcast, and he,
he's great.
He's great. Yeah. If we were kind of dabbling with it before, when speaking to Rand and just hearing even more, his ideas on the different ways you can use it and things like that. Yeah, it's really good. But there are others as well. So yeah, lots of look at it depends on what your objective is, really, doesn't it? So
yeah. And SparkToro gives podcast insights as well, which is super awesome.
Yeah, and that's quite unusual as well, because a lot of the other tools don't actually do that. So yeah. Now, if you could create just any kind of content for, let's say, for Convince and Convert, or when you're working on a strategic partnership with another client, and there's just sky's the limit, really. So you could be talking about a billboard in Times Square, a primetime TV show, anything really. What would be your kind of dream content project that you could bring together?
Oh, that is so awesome. You know what? I feel like dream content project. Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I would say honestly anything that really helps people, and not that we don't, but I mean it's at the end of the day, knowing how that helps connect to people is really awesome. And obviously everything we do helps somebody at some point, but I think sometimes we do create strategies and they get implemented, but we don't get to see necessarily the full results of it. And so I think something where I could see it from end to end and see how it all completely comes together would be awesome. Because sometimes, the strategies we work with our clients and our partners, and they go and they implement it internally. So we don't always get to see the full big reveal in the results. And I think something where I could see it end to end would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Tracing back to my Content 10X management consultancy days, I completely relate to that. You can get really involved in the strategy and start on the implementation, but you're not always around for the full end to end, are you? And it's always awesome when you can just have that full 360 experience. So yeah, I like that. So on B2B content strategists, we speak to true leaders in the B2B content world, particularly actually the tech world as well. So is there anyone that jumps out to you as somebody that we should be speaking to, a real leader in content B2B world?
Yes, absolutely. So not to be completely convince and convert centric, but there is somebody on our team, Mary Nice, who is absolutely killing it at TikTok right now. And she has this amazing history with, working for Disney parks and, just has this amazing background. But she's really focusing on a lot of the B2B content side of things that are helping people grow in their careers. So something that I think is on the top of everybody's mind. So not just doing the work, but, really reinvesting in yourself and making yourself as successful as possible by setting yourself up. So absolutely Mary Nice, love her. And then of course, Zanti on our team, Zanti Ho, is just brilliant at all things, and is just a treasure trove of fun facts as well. She was a guest on the Martha Stewart show, the actual
really?
TV show, as a guest, not just behind the scenes,
wow.
Treasure trove of fun facts. So yeah, those two, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, brilliant. I think we've already lined Santi up for season 2 already. So
yes.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. Even looking forward to it even more now. So that's great.
Yes. No, yeah, they're great.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such an interesting conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm sure the listeners have too. Where would you like people to go if they would like to reach out, connect with you?
Yeah, please convinceandconvert.com. We have a form. You can even get a free consultation with any one of our strategists, including myself. You can follow me on all things social. I'm much more of a social creeper, though. I'll upvote everything and like all of your posts, but definitely need to be a little bit more active in some ways. But yeah, LinkedIn is always great. Hrach. Yeah.
Yep. And also, of course, check out Social Pros podcast if you aren't listening to that
Yes,
already.
absolutely.
If you listen to this, then you are going to really enjoy Social Pros podcast as well. So be sure to check that out. And I'll make sure to have all the links to everything in the podcast show notes. So Anna, thank you so much. It's been an awesome conversation. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was so great to chat with you and talk about all the amazing B2B content things this morning.
No, it's been great. Thanks for listening to this episode of B2B Content Strategist. Do let me know what you thought of our conversation by getting in touch with me on social media. You'll find Content 10x on all the social platforms or search for Amy Woods, CEO of Content 10x on LinkedIn. To find out more about streamlining your content marketing processes and specifically about content repurposing, check out our website content10x.com. where you'll find information and resources that will help you achieve more with your content more efficiently. And if you're looking for a partner to outsource your content repurposing and distribution to, get in touch, as we offer a world-class, fully end-to-end done-for-you content repurposing service. Thanks again for listening to this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.